What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Elijah from the Side Hustler Society, and we're coming at you with a Money Monday replacement for what used to be Financial Freedom Fridays, but we're going to be covering the same stuff. Essentially, doing this on Friday was getting to be too hectic. There's always some kind of event that was conflicting with me being able to do it, so you don't want to have conflicting interests. So I decided to move the live streams to Mondays. That way, we can actually get some consistency in here. I've also come up with a new format for the show. So essentially, we're going to be doing the podcast segment first. Then I'll talk about freelancing and then the gig economy. In this particular case, the freelancing and the podcast segment are going to be one because I'm covering a similar topic in both sections. But essentially, I want y'all to see the value of having a web page because it plays a big role in you being able to land these higher ticket clients I keep talking about. So I'm not going to keep yapping. We're going to go ahead and start the podcast segment. Then afterwards, if anyone has any questions, I'll answer them. Then I'll talk about UberEats, the state of UberEats when it comes to delivering for them. Some things that they changed that I don't too much care for because I've actually been doing a decent amount of UberEats lately. And they made some changes I don't care for, but they've also made some good things. We'll talk about it. But starting off, let's go ahead and do the podcast segment because this webpage, y'all really should know more about it. So let's go ahead and do the podcast segment. Let's load that up.
Side Hustlers Society Podcast, the place where you can find out more about the hustles that are best for you. And of course, make more money in the process. Elijah has been in the gig economy and freelance space for over 8 years and has done over 4,000 deliveries on UberEats. Has several video editing clients, many properties on Airbnb, runs multiple YouTube channels, and is the author of the best-selling book, The Anatomy of Financial Success. It's his mission to empower people with the tools needed to be successful. Now, welcome your host, the king of the side hustles, Elijah Bilel.
What's up, everyone? It's Elijah with the Side Hustler Society. And today we're going to be rocking solo because I feel like, based on the direction of the show and a few inquiries that I've gotten, y'all really need to know some of the basics of marketing when it comes to lead generation. And I don't mean stuff that comes out just some standard like business textbook that you like learn on college campus. I mean, no disrespect to those guys, but most of them, they have never actually been self-employed for any long duration of time. So they kind of lack any kind of street smarts, if that makes any sense. So I want to talk about that in this show. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be touched on in later episodes, kind of setting the foundation. But one thing that when I was talking to Roberto Blake, and he's someone that really actually played a big role in influencing me to start freelancing because he has a video on YouTube called "Start Freelancing Like If You're Broke." But behind the scenes, I asked him like, "What do you feel is the biggest struggle when it comes to freelancers generating leads?" And this is assuming that they've already gotten their trade or skill. And I'm using freelancer, lightly. I know freelancer is associated with a creative professional, like a video editor, a graphic designer, a thumbnail designer, like something that's online. But this really can also apply to maybe a lesser degree to those that are self-employed and are more blue collar in their nature. Like they have skills with their hands. They do more physical labor, like electricians or plumbers. This can apply to them too, but just to a lesser extent. But he said they're afraid to do outreach and they prioritize inbound marketing way too much. And I found that kind of interesting because since I had a sales background, I had come from, hey, you get out there and talk to people to get leads to make sales. And some people, they don't have that initial experience with that. So they're hesitant to do that. On top of that, the terms that he used, some people aren't even familiar with that. He said direct outreach, he said inbound marketing. So that caused me to create something which I haven't thought of the name yet, to be honest. When I think of the name, I'll let you know. But essentially, it's a diagram, and I'm going to be honest, this is going to be more of a visual show, y'all. So I'm going to do my best to explain it on audio for you, audio listeners. But if you're on Spotify, if you can get Spotify or YouTube, you would really benefit from checking out this show, in video format. But it's going to be a diagram that has 4 quadrants. And vertically, that's going to represent inbound, outbound. Horizontally, that's going to represent online and offline. So before we go any further, let's just kind of define those terms. So like, what does inbound mean in terms of lead generation? Inbound simply means that the leads are coming to you. You're not doing any efforts to generate those leads, or they're coming from effort that you've already done in the past. So a good example of inbound marketing that's pretty popular nowadays is a freelancer may have a YouTube channel set up, right? Talking about the details of their skill or trade and how to do things and how to price or whatever. And someone may email them like, hey, so how much do you charge to do your service? That's an example of a lead that came in using inbound marketing. Now, outbound is the opposite of that. So outbound is when you're going out and initiating contact to get that lead. So if I meet someone at a networking event, say, hey, my name is Elijah, I'm a video editor, and we build all this rapport. And then I prospect them to essentially get them to hire me as a video editor. And we set up an appointment to talk further. Then that's the lead that was generated by outbound marketing. As far as the online and offline, well, I think y'all already know what that means. Online just means that the lead came through online methods, and offline means that the lead came through offline methods. So ironically, the examples already used also fit online and offline. Online being like the YouTube channel that served as a lead generator in that case, and offline being someone I met at a networking event and forged that relationship, and that resulted in an appointment. Then I can go ahead and sell them on my services. So in this show, we're going to focus on inbound offline marketing. Now that doesn't need to sound complicated. We're going to break it down because we already kind of broke down the terms, right? So we're just going to put those terms together and give a definition. So inbound means, as we've already established, that it's going to be a lead that is coming to us. Okay, we're not going out to get them. They're coming to us based on work that we've already done. And offline means that the stuff is going to be happening offline, although it can also benefit you online too, but it's going to be more so offline. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Now, what's the key to getting leads in this form or fashion? This is basically a magic word for referrals, because that's the biggest, easiest source of inbound offline marketing I personally have ever used and ever seen before. So how do you incentivize referrals? And referrals don't necessarily always have to be someone that's worked for you and that you've worked with in the past. So you have a past client and they give you a referral, that's great. But referrals can also come from people you've met and they know what profession you do, so they pass your information along to someone else. But how do you facilitate that process? Well, the key to doing this is you need to have a website or a web page. And y'all have heard me say that earlier in this season, but we're going to dive into it deeply. I personally say that a web page is more beneficial for freelancers and those who are self-employed to have some kind of service, because a website is more so if you have like more than like 5 services you provide, maybe some products. And at that point, you need different like avenues to talk about different things. A web page will maximize your conversions because there's nothing else for someone to do on that page but the call to action that you set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through my personal web page for my video editing services, and we're going to break it down. Let's start off by sharing my screen on my personal web page that I use for my video editing services. So when you design a web page, the first thing, you can have someone do this for you, but a web page doesn't necessarily have to be fancy. That's actually one of the pros of going with a web page. It can be nothing but text. Like, let me just scroll down real quick and you'll see like this is nothing but text. Now I like a bunch of pictures on the page. Now, if you want to add that stuff, you're going above and beyond at that point. But a web page can literally just be text and it will get the job done. So don't feel intimidated that you got to be some like graphic designer or website designer to get a web page started. If you have the text, which if we're going to be honest, you're going to have to make the text for this anyway, because you need to know what's going to be on your web page, then you're good to go. Now, when a web page is made, it needs to have the following on it. It needs to have your service or services on it in terms of like what you do. It needs to have some kind of social proof to kind of prove your credibility. It needs to have a call to action. So when a potential client hits this page, what do you want them to do from here? Do you want them to book something on the page where they click something and they pay for the service? Do you want them to contact you? User is going to be one of those two. Either they're going to pay for the service here, or you want them to contact you so that you can let them know about the services and pick the best one that's for them, etc. It needs to have those three things in that order. Going on from there, it needs to have your portfolio there or testimonials. Either one works. Next, it needs to have your race, what you charge. Now, this part is optional. If part of your selling strategy is to kind of prospect the client in doing the sales process before you talk about the price, and then you bring the price up at the end, you can omit this part. You don't have to put the rates in here. But I will say this web page can also act as a filter too. So people that reach out to you are only reaching out if they know that they can afford you because the prices are here. So that's something to think about. That's actually the tactic that I use here. Next, you need a FAQ section. So any questions that people have asked in the past about your service, just add them to the FAQ section. So someone can read that and just really get their questions answered here. So there's no more like objections to them reaching out to you and getting started with your service. Now that was a brief overview of the web page. We're actually going to go through mine and just break down all of this. So it's named Elijah's Video Editing Webpage. And it says, hello, my name is Elijah Bilel. I've been in the content creation space since 2017, and I have over 8 years of experience as a video editor. So I'm basically stating the service that I do. As someone who has had 3 YouTube channels and a podcast, I know what it takes to grab an audience attention and keep them visually engaged as an editor. This is my webpage that is meant to answer any questions that you have about my services and the process of working with me. Now, one thing that I could do, I could actually link all my YouTube channels on here, but I didn't because it's not really necessary based on what's coming up in the web page. But you see within the first paragraph, I've already established some kind of social proof. And if they want to see further, they're going to scroll down the web page and get access to that social proof. Picking back up where we left off, below are some of my recent clients and also some examples of my work. I'm available to answer any follow-up questions you may have too. I had to check something on the mic for those of y'all here looking at me on the video. If you would like to work with me, you can contact me at, and I give the number, or by email at elijah@financialanatomy.net. Thank you for considering me for your project, and I look forward to working with you. So let's go ahead and break some of this down. I mentioned the social proof, and I also mentioned the service, but the call to action that I want the client to do is to reach out to me, because I'm going to need to know a little more information about what they want, even though I'm going to be directing them in the direction that they probably want to go in. I personally don't want them booking right here because I want to sell them on a higher package. So they may, let's say they're a podcast owner and they want like 5 clips made. Okay. That's good and all. But if I get them on the phone, I could probably sell them on a 1,500 package where I'll edit their podcast and I'll make clips from them and I'll make shorts from them. And I know I could do that if I get them on the phone. And that's why my call to action is for them to reach out to me. But if I didn't want to do that, let's say I was fine with just them just wanting 5 clips done, I would have the call to action being like, hey, you could pay here, press a button, boom, I receive the money. then they receive the form that fills out like what I need from them in terms of like the link to the podcast and all that, and we can go ahead and get started. One rule of thumb I will say, for things that are more expensive, a call to action is going to be better if you have them reach out to you, because you can implement your sales skills to persuade a transaction. Versus something that's more low ticket, if it's not worth your time to be like talking about this stuff, then it might be better just to have the call to action where they can just book with you directly on the page. I'll leave that up to you at your discretion. So scrolling down, we're going to move on to the portfolio piece. See some of my portfolio and project examples. Now I have this really, really, really simple. That's the point of a web page, is to be as simple and streamlined as possible. Reason being is that if you want people to start referring you, you want to maximize them referring. And the way you do that is you don't want to have them sell you to whoever they're talking to. You want them to be able to send them somewhere. That's why if you have this set up, they'll just send them to your web page, and from there, all their questions can be answered on this page. So it's real easy for them to refer you because this page does all the work for them. All they got to do is say a sentence or two, instead of them having to actually sell you to them, which they might not really want to do, and it might deter them from referring. So some of my portfolio and project examples, we're going to click on it. And in my particular case, since I'm a video editor, y'all probably know there are several styles of video editing. Like editing a podcast clip is different from editing like a video on YouTube for breaking down a credit score, which is different from a commentary YouTuber that's reviewing like a movie and is using like clips from that movie and flashy effects and subtitles and stuff to keep you visually engaged. So each different style of editing that I offer, I have a sample video for, and I have this set up using Google Drive. Now we're going to go through these. So the first one is the video review sample. Hello, my name is Elijah Bilel, and I've been a vegan for over 10 years. In 2016, the Veggie Outers was formed to help more people consume more plant-based foods and get access to education and resources. We've since evolved. Okay, we're not going to watch the whole video, obviously, but I'm just showing y'all because the styles are going to differ as we go through this. So that's an example of a video editing I've done for the video reviews for the Veggie Outers. Gonna back out of this. And next, we're going to go to video and picture compilation sample. Going to click on it.
In 2016, when Elijah was 24, the Veggie Outers was formed as a way to encourage more people to eat a plant-based diet and to help them with the transition process. While the group has morphed into something bigger, there are some things about the group that you may not know, even those of you that have been members for years. Here are 9 things that you likely didn't know about the Veggie Outers. I'm your host, Nikki of the Nikki Connected YouTube channel. Join me as we take a deep dive into these amazing facts about the Veggie Outers. Let's get into it.
Okay, that's an example of videos and pictures being used in a creative way during the video. And some of y'all may actually recognize that voice. And if you're watching on the screen, you recognize her. That's Nikki from Nikki Connected. She actually was on the podcast in season 1, where she broke down the science of how to become an ACX narrator and also just voice acting in general. Great reference to season 1. If that interests you, the link to that will be in the description. Moving on, we're going to go to the podcast clips samples. And we got 2 of them, but I'll pick this one. Okay. I think I have this question too, but a lot of people probably do. What's your craziest story that you have to share when it comes to this rental game?
So I don't use my profile picture. I use just a profile picture of someone else who doesn't look like me. And it's a nice young lady. She's our profile picture. And we've had some rather nice strange things. What?
That's nice marketing. I'm sure that's a heck of a lead generator.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't want these leads. So we had one dude, he booked with us. He didn't send us a picture of himself in a Speedo, said my new Speedo. I'm like, bro, what in the world? Bro, I've had some crazy stories, like so many crazy ones now. It's just like, what are you doing? So we had, of course, had to report his profile.
That's showing the an example of a podcast clip that I'll do for clients. And I actually use an example of my own podcast there. Y'all might recognize that little joke from when we talked about how to be successful as an Airbnb host with a Micah artiste. That's going to be linked in the description as well. The person video sample. So this is literally taken from one of my channels, Financial Anatomy, where I talk about a credit score. In my last video about credit cards, I shared the fact that I used to have bad credit, but through a process, I was able to turn it around. Well, y'all seem to really want more about that process, so that's what this video is for. I went from a credit score of 492 all the way to one of 743. And this video will be explaining the process of exactly how I was able to pull that off. Because I'm glad to say that this process is very duplicatable. And if you're suffering from not really having any credit established because you're young, or if you have bad credit, provided that you're sincere in not making the situation worse if you have bad credit, i.e. making sure you pay future debts on time, then this process will help your situation no matter where you are. So let's get into it. Greetings, everyone. This is Elijah from Financial Anatomy. Okay, I'm going to stop saying this because I'm going to sound like a broken record. All the links to the examples, I'm just going to leave in the show notes and the description. Because I know some people are going to be like, hey, what you talked about in that video you showed for like 60 seconds. Yeah, I want to know more about it. So if you want to see that credit score video, and now I've rose my credit score, it will be linked in the description. Everything I'm showing here will be in the description. I'm going to stop saying it, okay? I don't want to sound like a broken record. Next, we have a faceless video sample. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another video about Financial Anatomy, where we help you take control of your financial destiny. I'm your host, Elijah, and we're going to be covering how to sign up for the Cash App in this video. So first, you'll want to check with your family and friends to see if anyone has a Cash App, and if they do, ask them to send you their link so that you can sign up under them and maybe get a sign-on bonus once you send them some money and they can send it back to you. If you don't have that situation, you can feel free to use the link that's provided by me in the description and also in the pinned comment. As you can see on the screen, just click the link and it'll take you to the place to where you can begin the sign-up process. Click on Get the App. Okay, so that's showing off essentially what's called a faceless video. Technically it's not, because I still appear on screen. There's a picture of me, but in concept, it's not a video where a person has to be on the video wise, if that makes any sense. And lastly, we have event anniversary sample. What's up, Veggie Outers? This is Elijah here. I'm glad to say that we just got done filming and experiencing our 9-year anniversary for the Veggie Outers. We got to enjoy ourselves, and we got to cover a lot of things that will be coming up in the upcoming year, as well as giving particular shout outs to people who have helped keep the Veggie Outers afloat, whether it be behind the scenes or a little more directly involved. I personally would say that 2024 was actually probably the best year for the Veggie Outers, because we've done things on a bigger scale than we ever had before. This included producing a documentary called The Lord of Veggie Outers that is available for you to view on YouTube. Okay. That's the 9-year anniversary we have for the Veggie Outers. So different from the other like video reviews, because I actually had a videographer filming using a Canon camera, and the quality was just a lot better. And as far as clients go for video editing, this is a great example of if someone has an event, like let's say a wedding, and they have footage they want edited into like a compilation of like clips or videos to store memories, or like some corporate event where they need the video. This is an example of how it would be edited so that they can see what that would be like. So backing out of that, we've gone through all of the samples. We're going to go back to the webpage. And I just want to break down why it was important that I did it that way, because you may have different variations of the service that you do. And that's a good example for me as a video editor, how even though all of that falls under video editing, it has like different niches or styles that would be relevant for the clients to know about, so they can just let me know like, hey, this sample is the style that I'm looking for, and we can move forward with that. So you want to sit down and look at like what would that look like for you with your service now. And I'm going to say this: blue collar workers might be wondering, how does that apply to me? Because I'm a self-employed, like electrician, HVAC technician, a plumber. I'm going to say this: portfolio wise, blue collar workers, it doesn't matter as much. It's more so about convenient, how fast you can get a job done, and do you have at least a little experience. Like, one thing that can help blue collar workers out is actually reviews. And that will fall under the testimonials. Because remember when I was going through like what a web page needs, it needs to have portfolios / testimonials. So you could get some screenshots of like, let's say Google reviews, and put them on here. And that could serve as your social proof. But I will say this: it's a little extra work for our blue collar brothers and sisters, but if they're willing to do it, you're going to stand out from the crowd massively. If you do the same thing as like what the freelancers do, like what I just did with this portfolio, and you could use Google Drive, you're going to stand out a lot, and you're going to get referred a lot more, because no one's going to go through all that trouble. What you would need to do is you probably need to have someone film you doing some work of doing some work that you're doing for your clients. And when you're doing your service, this kind of goes into something we might get into next season, which is content creation, and how you can use content creation to really make money with your freelance business, or your just your business in general. But just staying on topic, if you get that footage and then you kind of categorize it the same way I do with the portfolio, in addition to having some testimonials or screenshots or reviews here, you might have too much business. You might have to start turning away business, or it's kind of going ahead of the game. But if you have some contacts that offer the same services, set up a referral program with them. And if you're too busy to handle a client, you send that client to them and you can get paid for it. But that's a little nugget for maybe a future show we'll get into. But y'all see the point with the portfolio and project examples. Next, I have links to my previous clients. So companies that are very public, if you worked with them in the past, you want to be able to reference them in this section. So in that case, you put their websites. But for my case, it's actually better to put their YouTube channels, since all of them are on YouTube. So I've worked for the rideshare guy. Y'all probably know that. I say worked and I say previous clients, but it doesn't necessarily always have to be previous. It could also be current clients, because I still do work for the rideshare guy. Okay, I'm gonna mute it, because I don't necessarily want to get like a copyright strike from from YouTube. Even though Harry wouldn't care and he'd probably just remove it, but why even bother going through all that? But yeah, y'all see the podcast here and the back out of that. And I'm not going to go through all these because it's not that relevant. I mean, the webpage will be linked in the description. So if you want to go through all of them, feel free. The important thing is this just shows, a further way of reimbursing your social proof. Because if someone's really curious, they could reach out to these companies and ask, hey, did he or she work for you? And they're going to say yes, and vouch for you. So that's great. Next, we have the rates. Like I covered in the video, like I covered it at the beginning of the video, this part is optional. It really depends on what purpose you want the web page to serve. So this web page, in some ways, for me, is also a filter, because my prices, not everyone can afford me. Like, y'all probably know that YouTube and podcast creation and content creation in general, you can do a lot of powerful things with it, but it's also the ultimate domain of what I like to call the wannabepreneur. So people may be talking to you and it sounds all great and they're going to start their podcast, and maybe they do start their podcast, but it's not making any money yet. So we shouldn't really even be having a conversation about me editing your videos yet. And what I could do, instead of having to turn them down rudely or come off as cocky, I could just send them this web page like, hey, yeah, I would love to work with you. Here's my web page, and when you want to move forward, contact me. Then they see this, and well, maybe they'll contact me like a year and a half from now when they do start making money, or it'll kind of deter them from wasting both our time. So I'm going to read here. My current rates for the editing of video projects are below. Editing for a podcast episode is $50 per hour of footage. Making a clip between 2 to 20 minutes from a podcast or live stream is $35 per clip. Package deals are available if a number of clips are purchased in bulk. So you're probably noticing that I am giving the rates, but I'm leaving room for me to upsell them if I get them on the phone. Because what I said is up to interpretation, and that can be talked about further. So I could discount a certain amount per clips if they buy like a whole bunch of them. Contact me for more details on these package clips. Making a clip from a video, show, podcast, or live stream that is under 2 minutes in a vertical format. This will be approached as if the clip will be used as a YouTube short, Instagram/Facebook reel, or TikTok. Generally, the rate is $25 per clip and is only included as part of a package deal. For details, please contact me. For non-podcast videos, it's $50 per video for videos that will be 20 minutes or shorter post-video editing. For editing on videos that will be longer than 20 minutes, it is a flat rate of $50 plus a per minute rate of $2.50 of edited footage after the 20-minute mark. Now, this part is very important because people start to get lost in their head when you mention a lot of numbers. So if you end up having to do that for your service, you do need to give an example or two so that they can kind of root it in something. Like some people learn through examples, so just go ahead and give one. For example, the cost of editing a video that ends up being 26 minutes long would be $65. The base rate being $50 for the first 20 minutes, and the per minute rate for the footage after the 20 minutes mark being $15 for the additional 6 minutes. So as you can tell, my rates are pretty straightforward, but there is some room for upselling if I get them on the phone. It's up to you if you want to include your rates in the mix or not. I do, because I do like the aspect of my webpage serving as a filter too. But like I said, it's up to you. And if you do include your rates, I would just lay it all out on the table, unless you want to lay some of it out on the table, but you're willing to give like a discount if they have you on retainer for a longer time or they make a bulk purchase. I think that's a great sales tactic. That's why I am personally setting it up that way. Next, we have the FAQ section. Now, one thing I'll say about this section, you don't have to wait for you to get a question to add it. In fact, you could actually Google what are the most frequently asked questions of your service, like FAQs for hiring a video editor, FAQs for hiring a freelance accountant, FAQs for hiring a bookkeeper, and then just you can see all the frequently asked questions people tend to ask. Then you can answer them for your own business or service and then add them to this webpage. So that's an option too. You don't have to just wait for you to get a question and then add it. What should I expect once we start working together? That's a very important one. When a purchase is made, you will be sent a form that will need to be filled out that includes a folder where you can upload the video footage and or pictures that you need edited and or clipped. In this form, you will be asked to select which style of video editing you would like your project to be like from my portfolio examples linked above. For example, if you want your footage to be edited like the podcast clip sample, the editing style for your project would be similar to that video. If you want it to be like the video review sample, the project would have that style. If you have a particular video that you're looking to emulate, but with your footage, you can send me a link to that video in this part of the form also. I'm letting them know what's going to be the process once they spend their hard-earned money with me. Because there's always that doubt in the person's mind, like when they purchase it, like what's going to happen? Are they going to get in contact with me? Like, oh, what's going to happen? Are they going to run off with my money? And you're answering the question for them. Hey, this is what's going to happen. Once you spend your money, you fill out this form. I have the information to get started. Boom. So regardless of what you include in your FAQ, I really would include that probably as your first question, if I'm going to be honest. Scrolling down, next question. What is the next step if I'm interested in using your services? This is what would be the call to action. The next step would be to email me at elijah@financialanatomy.net or give me a call. From there, I will ask what you are ultimately looking to achieve with your channel, show, podcast, or live streaming in general. Depending on what your goal is, I'll make a recommendation on what package or content type, your podcast clips, shorts, etc., would be best to help you achieve your goal. From there, a package will be put together based on your needs. This is one, if you do talk about your rates, I would include it, like it would be mandatory to include. If you don't, I still would include it, to be honest. Do I have to pay first before you start working on a project? Now, before I actually answer the question, while I read the answer that I put, I'll say this. You don't ever want to just do work. Well, blue collar workers, it might be a little different, but that's because they're in person. But even with blue collar workers, you still might not want to do this. Don't ever do the work and then get paid afterwards. You want to either get paid first or get paid half and then half upon completion, because you'll find that you don't want to have to start a separate service among your services called debt collection or just income collection, where you've done the work and then, you got to hunt down clients to get paid. And, that's not really fun. Who wants to do that? So if you can just get the money up front, or at the very least, half now, half later, which is a very reasonable request, set that up. I'm going to go ahead and read here. The short answer to this is yes. And I'm going to give some reasons on why I have this set up. Sometimes the project will require me to invest in certain things to fulfill your needs as a client. For example, additional video footage may be required in order to move forward with a project. I would then need to get additional footage from royalty-free sites, or shoot the footage myself. This can cost money, which would be taken out of the fees that are paid to me by the client for the project. If I haven't received payment, though, I wouldn't be able to move forward with the project. For these reasons, it's more streamlined and faster for you as a client if I receive payment up front. Alternatively, I'm open to doing a trial run instead of you purchasing, let's say, 10 clips for your podcast. You buy 3 clips at $105. The same can apply for editing videos. This will allow you to see the results you will get while limiting your initial investment. From there, we can move on to bigger projects if you so desire. I'm also open for a first project to receive half the money up front for a bigger project and the other half upon completion for projects that are over $1,500. Contact me for more details on this option if this is desired. And that concludes my FAQ section. I personally haven't really found the need to include any other frequently asked questions because my closing rate has been pretty good, and referrals have been coming in very nicely. Actually, I just had one come in this morning where one of my clients asked me, was I actually looking for other clients? I told her, yes, I am. And then she asked me what was the best way to get in contact with me. And I told her, I gave her the number and the email she could send people, but I also sent her this webpage. I just sent her the webpage, and the webpage will serve its purpose, right? Yeah, so that concludes like the demonstration that I'm showing for the webpage. And like I said, this is the ultimate source of inbound offline marketing and even inbound online marketing, because that webpage can be working in the background, getting you leads without you having to do much, but once you have it set up. The next thing I want to cover is like, how do you set up a web page? Like, what software do you use? Now, I just made a web page using the software I use for the Side Hustler Society site, which is Kajabi. That'll be linked in the description. But that's a website provider. It provides like a lot of stuff. So you might not want to go with that because all you need is a web page. So let me share my screen again. And honestly, for a little while, before this show, I played around with, Okay, I'm gonna change the format of the screen. I played around with Google Docs because Google Docs is actually very nice, and it really everything I showed y'all on my webpage is possible to do with Google Docs, but there's some kind of glitch where when someone clicks on a link, there's this message that pops up basically saying why it won't take them to the desired place the link's supposed to go. And that's not going to work because you want to be able to link to certain things in your webpage. So unfortunately, I can't recommend Google Docs right now unless they fix it after I've done this show. If they have, I'll put that in the description and that'll be awesome. But right now, Google Docs is a no-go. So I've looked up some Google Docs alternatives, and we're going to go through some of them. So scroll down. This is document360.com. And it's a blog about Google Docs alternatives. This will also be linked in the show notes. But they mentioned it. Well, obviously they're going to mention themselves. Doc 360. So that's an option. I'm not going to read the whole article. It'll be linked. Nucleolino. I think that's how you pronounce it. Microsoft 365. Zoho Work Drive. Evernote. Quip. And Coda. Those are some Google Docs competitors, and they allow you to link, which is pretty critical on a web page because when you talk about something, you want to show something, you want to be able to link back to the website or the video, etc. Now that that's done, that concludes our podcast on, I'll just say it concludes the inbound offline marketing segment of lead generation, even though we did talk about the other forms too. But if I have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to give this video a big fat thumbs up. It really helps with YouTube algorithm. And I have a question of the day for y'all. How do y'all feel that a web page could best serve you the most in terms of lead generation? Everything we talked about, what really stood out to you on like, oh, I could see how leaving what you do as a service has value to someone that wants to book you. I can see how the call to action is valuable. I can see how this is a convenient way to leave your portfolio in a streamlined way so people can check it out. Leave that in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new. This has been Elijah with the Side Hustle Society. I will catch you in the next video. And like always, be safe and be profitable.
This episode may be over, but your hustling journey has just started. Visit thesidehustlersociety.com to access all links and resources mentioned in the show that will help you on your hustler's journey.
Hey, y'all. So we just finished the podcast segment. Let me move my mic a little closer. Yeah, but we shared exactly how to build a web page, or more or less what you should have on your web page, so it can kind of serve as a lead magnet for you. Let me look in the comments section. So if y'all have any questions, freelancer wise or about the podcast, drop them in the comments section. Or if you want to come on live, I've dropped that link also in the chat as well. But pretty soon we're going to go into the next part of this Money Monday, which is talking about UberEats, my thoughts on doing it in 2025, and also just some quick tips that I recommend that you do if you are going to do it, because it is very different from when I initially started like some time ago. So while we're waiting, it doesn't look like we have any questions from the freelancing content. So we'll go ahead and slide into the UberEats content. So starting off, I am going to share something, and this is, okay, let's get that off. Y'all work with me, okay? This is the first time I'm streaming and sharing stuff, so trying to figure out how to do certain things. Okay, well that's fine. But as y'all can see, I think this is a great place to start the Uber Eats segment. So regardless of how you feel about Trump and this whole thing with the ICE raids and whatnot, I do live in Texas, so that's a border state. Okay. And with that being the case, prior to him getting in office, there was nothing but like this deadly gray, just gray, no surge at all. And about a month and some change after he got into office and started signing certain stuff, this actually became the regular. So yeah, there we go. Now I can share that and y'all can see me. So why am I sharing this? The reason being, this plays into my advice for doing Uber Eats right now. Not everyone will be able to do this because it depends on your car. But if you're signed up for Uber Eats only account, like you only get deliveries, if your car qualifies for UberX or the normal rideshare, first evaluate, are you getting the promotions that come with having an Uber Eats account? Like, I throw some out there. During lunch hours or dinner hours, you're getting like $1 more per delivery, or $1.50, or there's a boost zone, or there are decent quests. If you're getting that already, then just omit what I'm about to say. If you're not getting those promos, then I would actually sign up for a dual account. This is an account that can do deliveries and rideshare. Here's the reason why. If you have a dual account, then you'll qualify for a surge, and you don't even have to technically take a rideshare request. Now, they are going to come in, and they're going to come in heavy because what's causing the surge is on the rideshare end. But if a delivery comes in during a surge zone, you're going to get that surge. So you see on the screen it says 3.75 in the northeast part of Dallas, right? Well, if you get a delivery request in the middle of that surge zone, you're going to get that whatever the delivery pays plus the 375. And just to give y'all like a visual, the total amount will be what you see. So let's say the delivery by itself would have paid $5. So you see the request pop up as $5, right? But it's in the surge zone of $3.75. Well, that means that you will see a total of $8.75 pop up on the delivery, and you have the option to take it. So that means regardless of if the surge disappears 5 seconds after you take the delivery, it's still yours. So essentially, this is a way for the market to kind of regulate itself, because whenever it's surging, during peak times, you can make some pretty decent money. The only caveat is when it's not surging, you won't get anything. That includes the normal Uber Eats like quests and boosts if you were getting them. That's assigned to the rideshare stuff, so you won't get it with a dual account. But I have both accounts. I have an Uber Eats only account and I have a dual account. And I haven't seen an Uber Eats request or Uber Eats bonus in like forever. Let me rephrase that. I haven't seen a decent one. I've seen some bullshit talking about earn by time. Like, hey, we'll guarantee you make $15 an hour if you take every single request that's paying $2 for you to go 17 miles. In fact, you know what? Why talk about it? I'm going to give y'all some visual examples. So if this was to pop up on the screen and I was going to be taking these Uber Eats promos that they send on my Uber Eats only account, right? I would have to take something like this. Yeah, so let's break that down. $10.58 for slightly over 30 miles. But if I wanted to make $15 per hour, according to the Uber Eats promo, I would have to take that. And if I declined it, I'm out of the running to make $15 an hour, which, at least in my market, who the hell wants to make $15 an hour? She's striving for 20, maybe $25 an hour. So those are the type of promos I was getting on my Uber Eats only account. Definitely not worth it, right? So that's why I'm recommending that people get a dual account if your car qualifies for it. If your car doesn't qualify for a dual account, there's not too much that you can do. At least Uber Eats. You could do the multi-app thing. You're like doing Uber Eats and DoorDash and all that stuff. But yeah. Aside from that, another issue that I've noticed, and this gotten so much worse over the years, is you go to a delivery restaurant and the food has already been picked up by another driver. At least that's what the restaurant is telling us. Whether it's a glitch or it's true or whatever, the point is we wasted our gas going there. And essentially, if you cancel that delivery, then it's an endless like loop. That ping keeps going out to the next driver, which shows up like, oh, we gave it to someone else, then they cancel. In fact, Uber Eats even has a option in the cancel menu that says it was picked up by another driver. I don't ever click that because it doesn't actually solve the problem. Number one. Number two, I drove to the restaurant, so I want to be paid for that. But the only way to end this cycle so that the next driver won't be penalized for driving there, you have to call support. And calling Uber Eats support, you tell them that the restaurant can't fill the order, and then they'll manually cancel it, which cancels out the whole order, so it won't keep pinging out there. Now, up until 2 weeks ago, at least this is what support told me. But up until 2 weeks ago, if you called and you told someone that essentially, I never use the phrase someone picked up the order because they're going to give you a robotic response and they'll keep saying, oh, there's nothing we can do, nothing we can do. I tell them the restaurant tells me they're unable to fulfill the order. That can mean any number of things. And it also means that someone could have picked it up and they can't fulfill the order. So they cancel the order, the delivery, and then they tell me, oh, you're free to continue making other deliveries, but we can't compensate you for driving to the restaurant. I then demand to speak to a supervisor and tell them I need to hear that from him or her. And once I explained that I drove to the restaurant and it's usually a few miles away and didn't get paid for it, and I was at the restaurant for X amount of time while waiting on hold for y'all to cancel the order, I need to be compensated. I actually would receive some kind of compensation. Now, I wasn't consistent. I've gotten $4, I've gotten $8, I've gotten $10. And to be honest, the wait time wasn't really that different either. It's always, I'd be waiting, it would take a total of 10 to 15 minutes from the point that I discovered that the restaurant's not going to fulfill the order to the point to where they compensate me on the phone. So it's not ideal. I'd rather just be able to just pick up an order and deliver it. But it was balanced in the equation. But as of 2 weeks ago, according to support, when I talked to them about a week ago, I encountered the same situation when I was talking to the supervisor. She said that something has changed in the Uber Eats policy where they no longer can compensate the delivery drivers for orders and picked up or whatever. And she did confirm that there is some kind of glitch in this regard. So it's not always a driver picking up like a driver stealing food. There is a glitch in the system which is causing this problem to happen. And that Uber is in the process of fixing that glitch so that it won't happen anymore. Yeah, I guess time will have to see how that plays out. But in the meantime, she said that they're not going to be compensating drivers for going to the restaurant. So that, to be honest, that kind of pissed me off. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And right now, we're talking about Uber Eats and my thoughts on the state of the market right now. If you have any questions on Uber Eats or freelancing, drop them in the chat. Or if you want to come on, feel free to come on. We can chop it up. But my advice, let's go ahead and pull this order back up. My advice for everyone right now doing Uber Eats, until they fix this bug where if you go to a restaurant and they say some driver picked it up and Uber is not going to pay you for that, you really need to analyze the trips that you're taking. Now, I have this on the screen. This is an example of some ridiculous stuff I would never take. But let's just play around with the mileage here. You see where it says 30 miles. Let's just say it was like only a mile away and it was for like $20. Does that really, and to add some icing on the cake, let's say it was a McDonald's order. Does that sound very reasonable? Would someone, okay, maybe not McDonald's, because I've never actually encountered this glitch with McDonald's. But let's just say it's a $20 order and it's going like a mile. Does that really sound like something you would encounter in your market? If it seems a little sus, there's a good chance that's one of those orders. It's just, it's a glitch and it's just pinging out there. And if you go there, the restaurant's going to tell you, hey, a driver already picked up the food. So you might not even want to take it. So y'all need to do some testing in your market to see what exactly is normal. And if something seems abnormal, like it's way too good to be true, there's a good chance that it's one of those glitched orders that once you go there, the restaurant's not going to make the order because another driver, quote unquote, picked it up. Whether it's a glitch or the driver stole the food, I would just ignore that request altogether. Now, there's some exceptions. Sometimes a family could be ordering a huge order, and that's why the tip is so big, and that's why the order is like $12 or $14. But that's what I meant by y'all need to analyze the market. That's not unusual for my market, but there is a threshold. Like if someone is paying like $20 to go 2 miles a restaurant away, that's abnormal for my market. So I don't even want a chance going to the restaurant for them to tell me it's already been picked up, unless it's maybe half a mile away. Then if I do go there and they say that I haven't really lost that much, let's say I'm not next to the restaurant, I'm like 3 miles away, I just wouldn't take it. I hate to say this, but we got to play the game this way until they fix this glitch. Hopefully they do at some point, but they have to do something because I'm going to be honest. If the FTC sees that this is going on, Uber can get fined like several $1 million because this generally is unacceptable for all parties involved. And it could go off, they could interpret it as a data breach, or they could just see it as a way of Uber's pocketing money. It could go several different ways. So they need to fix this stuff like ASAP. Because I can see the FTC hitting them with some kind of huge fine. But we have to wait and see in that regard. So as far as UberEats goes, that's all I got for y'all right now. What are my thoughts on driving for UberEats right now? How many times are y'all encountering going to the restaurant and the food's been picked up? That's the biggest thing with me. It has kind of taken the fun out of doing UberEats for me, where if a request pops up and it pays a lot of money and then you get excited about going there and it turns out that someone else picked up the food or something, it just makes it not worth it. It makes me second guess taking those orders. It interrupts the flow of deliveries. It has kind of slowed down a little since the beginning of this year, but it's still there. So I would say out of every 20 deliveries, I'll bump into this one time. That's too much. Ideally, it wouldn't happen at all, but I can live with that. But if this is happening more in your market, I would honestly say it's probably not worth it, to be honest. I don't know when they're going to fix the glitch, but and this is not even taking into account how much money you're making. You need to calculate how much money you're making per hour. And if it's below, I want to say $15 an hour, it's probably not worth it. If it's still above $15 an hour and not so many of these glitched orders are floating out there, I would say it's still worth it. Hopefully they'll fix this issue so it can just become fun again. But those are my thoughts on the Uber Eats market. And my biggest piece of advice is really to sign up for a dual account because at least in my market, promotions for Uber Eats have been very scarce. So if you have a dual account, you can take advantage of this. So you see that surge, right? You want to get some of it. But that's my thoughts on Uber Eats. It's not the juggernaut it used to be, but it can still make you some decent money. So I'm going to look in the chat and see if we have any questions. I don't see any questions, but I'll wait maybe for another minute to see if we do have any questions. And if not, we're going to go ahead and call it a night because I've had a pretty busy day. It's kind of like the streaming services are calling my name. Like there's a show on Hulu I want to get back to and watch. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I'll give it a few more minutes. Let's see. Just removing something. Okay. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and call it a night then. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to the Side Hustler Society. All the links that I referred to or talked about in the stream, they will be in the description. We're going to be doing the live streams on Mondays now, so I can stay consistent for y'all. So no more Financial Freedom Fridays. We'll be doing Money Mondays instead. New format, podcast, then freelancing content. Then we'll end it off with the gig economy, UberEats, rideshare, that kind of stuff. So I'll catch y'all next time, and I appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And subscribe if you're new. I will catch y'all in the next video or the next stream. Peace.